Moving along, wheat disease surveys were conducted mid-May, May 13th through the 15th here in South Central, Southwest, and the Southern Panhandle of the state. Growth stages ranged from boot in the Southern Panhandle to heads fully emerged in the Southwest. Unfortunately, wheat streak mosaic virus was the most commonly found virus among those fields. Market Journal's Bill Dodd looks into this disease and how it can impact producers, also what options producers have from here.
As the growing season for wheat is reaching a critical point in development around parts of Nebraska, producers have been caught in a dry spell for much longer than anyone would ever hope. While drought conditions are less than favorable, the weather pattern has stymied the advance of several types of fungal disease. However, due to late-season hailstorms before the last harvest, wheat streak mosaic has found a foothold in many fields.
Because of the dryness, fungal diseases have not taken off, but we are just starting to see rainfall right now, and I expect that we'll be seeing some fungal diseases develop in the near future. But wheat streak mosaic is what we are seeing mostly in wheat fields, and the main reason is that last year, just before harvest, some hailstorms came in some areas, and those hailstorms shattered grain that was mature enough to germinate. It germinated into what we call volunteer wheat. Volunteer wheat is a favorite host for wheat streak mosaic and the wheat curl mite, which transmits the wheat streak mosaic. When we talk of wheat streak mosaic, it's a complex of 3 different viruses: wheat streak mosaic virus, Tweedcam mosaic virus, and High Plains wheat mosaic virus. All 3 viruses are transmitted by wheat curl mites. And the highest risk for this complex, the wheat streak mosaic virus complex, to occur is pre-harvest hailstorms. They come through, shatter the grain germinates into volunteer wheat. If that volunteer wheat is not controlled and before planting in the fall, then the risk is very, very high. So, so this year, that's part of the reason we are seeing a lot of wheat streak mosaic. It's partly because of those hailstorms that came through just before harvest. Folks did not control the volunteer wheat, and then also mild temperatures in the fall. What I've been seeing in the wheat fields I've been surveying is wheat streak at varying levels. So in some fields, I see a plant here and there, but it's there. And that has very little impact. Other fields, especially in areas that were impacted by those pre-harvest hailstorms, I've seen entire fields destroyed. So we can go from very little damage, depending on the level of disease, to 100% loss. And the 100% loss, we have seen it quite often in years where conditions are very favorable for wheat streak mosaic. So I've seen at least three fields this year that were completely destroyed by wheat streak mosaic.
Unfortunately for producers currently battling wheat streak mosaic, there aren't any applicable solutions to resolve the issue this year. However, there are several steps producers can take to ensure the following growing season goes much smoother.
So as I said, the highest risk is volunteer wheat. Especially volunteer that grows from shattered grain just before harvesting due to hailstorms. So that volunteer has to be controlled and be completely dead at least 2 weeks before planting. And then we have some varieties, wheat varieties that have good resistance to wheat streak mosaic. They are not very many, but they are there. The challenge is because there are 3 different viruses we are dealing with. So we can have a variety that has good resistance to wheat streak mosaic virus, but it doesn't have good resistance to Tweedcam mosaic virus. So that's the challenge. So the public universities like UNL, they will have information on resistance to wheat streak mosaic complex. Private companies also will have information on the resistance of their varieties. Read that information and then use it to select varieties that have good resistance to or tolerance to the wheat streak mosaic complex. Also, we recommend that you avoid planting too early in the fall. If you plant too early in the fall, you give more time for the mites to infest the wheat crop and for the viruses to do damage. So plant at the recommended date for your area. Don't plant too early. And then another thing to do is the wheat kale mites and the viruses, there are other hosts of the mites and the viruses, not just wheat. Grassy crops or crops in the grass family like corn, millet, they can be hosts of the mites or the viruses or both. So one thing that should be avoided is to plant wheat next to late maturing host crops like corn or millet. If you plant wheat in the fall and you have a field of corn that is still green, the mites will move from the corn onto the wheat and transmit the viruses. So you want to avoid planting wheat next to late maturing host crops.
While there isn't much to be done about crops infected with wheat streak mosaic this season, it will be possible for producers to get a good handle on what needs to be done after harvest and leading up to planting. Reporting for Market Journal, I'm Bill Dodd.